Now we're moving on a little bit to Kamala Harris at the end. Overall DNC. So these are some of the best moments that I saw from Kamala Harris's speech, as well as a really funny joke that Elizabeth Warren put out there. All right, so this is Kamala Harris talking about the Department of Education. This is a really important topic because it's, we need education, and the Republicans are actually suggesting that we eliminate the Department of Education.
We are not going to let him eliminate the Department of Education that funds our public schools. We are not going to let him end programs like Head Start that provide preschool and child care for our children. America, we are not going back.
Project 2025, I even succumbed to the, almost had influence from the gaslighting of the Republican Party. And there was a couple of times they were like, oh, Trump's got nothing to do. And I was like, oh, maybe. But no, it's just like all the evidence is there. Former White House staffers, former Trump administration people. J.D. Vance wrote the forward on Project 2025. Yeah. Trump will continuously be like, I got nothing to do with it. They even had that leaked video of somebody who was one of the heads of Project 2025 was even saying like, hey, we got Trump support. Like, he's distancing himself from us, understandably, for the election, but he's got we got his support on this agenda. And
yeah.
And then, Republicans will tell you, go look at Agenda 47. That's his actual policy. And it's like, well, it's a condensed version of Project 2025. Might have left out a couple things here and there, but I mean, shit, it's still not any better. The elimination.
It's not that much different.
The elimination of the Department of Education is at the top of the list. And God, do we need education? Oh my goodness. Trump loves the poorly educated. He does. Yeah. He loves them very much. He said that before. Because you know what? When you have an uneducated population, it's a lot easier to control them and manipulate them. And so that's exactly what Trump's trying to do.
This is Kamala Harris talking about she's trying to, kind of do the same thing that Biden was doing and saying that she was going to be a president for all Americans, which I think is a good thing that Trump doesn't really ever say. Like, I want to be a good president to everybody, not just a select few.
And let me say, I know there are people of various political views watching tonight, and I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self, to hold sacred America's fundamental principles, from the rule of law to free and fair elections, to the peaceful transfer of power.
Yeah, a big emphasis on the peaceful transfer of power. I think that this is something that will remind people of what happened on January 6th, which is not too many years ago. And that's something that, needs to be, every American needs to be reminded of that. That's just the fact that there almost wasn't a peaceful transfer of power is beyond me. And I'm glad that she was actually able to say something about it, because I think that Biden would have missed on this one for sure.
She's really gotten better at her public speaking.
She has, for sure.
It's a lot better than it was before. She's got a lot more clarity, and she seemed like in that speech last night, she spoke with a lot more. She spoke with a lot more strength, I would say, is the word. When I was listening to her, I was thinking to myself, wow, she sounds very presidential. She articulates herself well. And she also commands a good amount of respect with her words, which is, those coaches are working overtime, I'll tell you that. But she's doing a pretty good job. It's a lot better than what we had before with Biden, who could, barely get a sentence out, would ramble. And I mean, now the Democrat Party, we can all laugh at it. It's like, yeah, he's ancient, Then when he was speaking at the convention, he had that one thing where he started stuttering and he kept going over a word maybe like 4 to 5 times. And he gave the camera a nod,
yeah.
It's like, hey, it's like, yeah, we can all laugh now. We know you're ancient, but now it's not scary that you're running anymore, So, way better.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I would say that she's gonna continue to get better as time progresses as well. I mean, she's she's probably training a lot more now, but she'll get better for sure.
I bet for the debate she'll do well as well. The main thing with Trump is, Trump versus Biden, it's like what is that, a coughing baby versus nuclear missile You can't win because Trump's going to be disrespectful. He's going to cut you off. He's going to like call you names, and Biden's just can barely hear what's happening around him, and he's got no teleprompter, so he's running on all cylinders. Kamala cooked Pence in the last debate, so we'll see how she does.
Yeah, and she's cooked other people too. I mean, people sometimes post a clip of her arguing with Tulsi Gabbard in the what was it, like 2020, I think, during that time.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people post the Tulsi Gabbard clip, but then the clip, like, nobody ever posted the clip of Kamala cooking Tulsi Gabbard. It was probably one of the few people on the left that first called out Tulsi Gabbard for what she was, a total fraud.
Yeah.
I mean, she cooked her right on the debate stage, which was glorious to see. So yeah, I have no doubts about Kamala Harris. I mean, her speech I think was great. Obviously, like, some of the content, like I said, wasn't what I wanted to hear. You're never going to fully agree with the presidential candidate on 100% of the issues. I understand. I think we're just building coalitions, and that's the important thing. This was another really strong point that she made. Trump is somehow distancing himself from the economy. I don't know what's been going through his mind, but a couple of his speeches I've heard now him say a couple times that the economy is no longer that important, and I don't know I don't know why he's saying that. It's pretty bizarre. This is I think a pretty good point that she hit on, because the Republicans, no matter if it's Trump or George W. Bush or any of these other guys, they've all famously done tax cuts for the rich, which end up hurting American families a lot more over the long run.
He fights for himself and his billionaire friends. And he will give them another round of tax breaks that will add up to $5 trillion to the national debt. And all the while, he intends to enact what in effect is a national sales tax, call it a Trump tax, that would raise prices on middle-class families by almost $4,000 a year. Well, instead of a Trump tax hike, we will pass a middle-class tax cut that will benefit more than 100 million Americans.
That speech had a lot more policy, and Republicans can always be like, yeah, I look on our website, I don't see no policy. It's just the policy's there. It's just like not all of it is like completely drafted at the point.
Going onto policy, a criticism that Kamala Harris receives from the right is that she doesn't have her policy listed on her website, which is true. I think that eventually she will do this. The thing is, she just became the nominee a month ago, right? This just happened last month. I'm not 100% sure that she's gonna have anything ready by the end of this month. Maybe by the end of next month we'll have some sort of policy on her website. I don't care that much, to be honest with you, because in 2016, Hillary Clinton had 1,000 pages of policy on her website. Nobody read that shit. Plus, she wasn't even if she had her policies on there, people weren't focused on the policies back then.
No,
people were focused on her
emails. All rhetoric.
It literally is all rhetoric, yeah. And we have a sense of where she's going. We know that it's going to be a continuation of some of the Biden policies, which I support, and a lot of other leftists support. She's going to be the most pro-union president probably in our lifetime.
Yeah, Supreme Court nominations.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's already sort of catering her policies towards the working class through all the speeches, through picking Tim Walz. The party's moving away from this from Hillary Clinton liberalism to a more working class liberalism. And a long time ago, this used to be the Democratic Party. Before the Republicans came along, the Democratic Party used to be the working people's party. So I'm glad they're finally moving towards this.
And also, she announced that she was going to be doing a 25% capital gains tax on accounts that are holding more than $100 million in assets as well, which is for some reason getting the right in a tizzy, because they're over here saying, first of all, they're leaving out the part where it says 100 million, right? So they'll throw that out and be like, wow, are you gonna have you invest, right? Like, she's gonna have a 25% capital gains tax instilled on you, or how? Like, why even invest? The stock market is doomed. But no, it's $100 million. And then they're also saying, well, it's like, oh, well, if we put that tax on them, they're just going to bring that down to, the middle class and everything like that. And it's just, no. Her policies that she's putting forth at the current moment, such as the $6,000 child tax credit, pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
Yeah, and
that's
she's
great.
doing, like, bipartisan, like even the no tax on tips, which to me, I feel like is going to be a little bit better than what Trump is proposing, because his proposal for that no tax on tips is more so that it could be utilized as a loophole for people who are making commission-based transactions, such as in Wall Street, and essentially want to get a bigger pay bump, so he can grease the palms of some of his Wall Street buddies. But it's like, and like it will slightly affect servers and whatever. But I think Kamala Harris would instill that same policy, just without that little loophole that's going to aid in those big wigs.
Yeah, and that was something that Trump. He got really mad at Kamala for stealing this policy, right? Mm-hmm. Like you pointed out, it is certainly a different policy. But if something is good policy, shouldn't you want to steal the idea?
Yeah.
Are all your other policies so bad that you can't come up with another policy to sort of like counteract that, like a different idea that you have for the country? I mean, you're so stuck. And the thing is, if Trump did focus more on policy, he's going to end up sounding like 2025. And that's why he's only selecting a few things to talk about, because he wants to completely obfuscate the fact that he's so entrenched with this thing.
Yeah, and what is Trump policy really? We're going to fix the Medicare so good, it's going to be so fixed. It's like
we'll have the largest deportation of 100 million illegals.
We're kicking them all out, or it's going to be like, oh man, it's like burning the American flag gets you a year in prison. Like, what kind of policies are these? You ask a Trump supporter about policy, they ain't going to know anything, but they think they got a gotcha with, where's Kamala Harris's policies, and you'll state a policy, but they'll be like, it's not listed on the website, though. So, does she really have policy? And it's just, it's just so funny when you're seeing like Trump talk about like how he's going to do it, and they're like, he'll be like, yeah, the economy's going to be so fixed, you're not even going to, it's going to be so fixed, you don't even have to fix it anymore. It's going to be so good. It's going to be the best. Our healthcare is going to be the best. It was the same thing he was talking about when he was talking about repealing Obamacare. He's like, we're going to get rid of Obamacare. It's trash. And you know what happened? He couldn't figure out what to replace it with. They couldn't figure out like anything better than Obamacare. So they just did nothing about it. So he's just going in there and being like...
A lot of people lost their health care because of that.
Yeah.
A lot of people suffered because of that.
Yeah.
I actually remember there was an interview. I think one of those people, like the people that do like the street interviews, I think it was Jordan Klepper. He like talked to a Trump supporter, and she was like, oh, like I lost my health care after... It was at a Trump rally, keep in mind. So she's like, oh, I lost my health care because of like the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. And he's like, you mean Obamacare, right? And she's like, yeah, I guess. And he's like, but you're here like supporting Trump, who like just like basically cut your health care. And she's like, yeah. And like, bro, wow. It's like, what the fuck? It's so crazy to me. It's funny that you brought up the capital gains tax as well. And the criticism that I'm seeing online is that people are like, oh, I love how like the people that are making like $50,000 a year working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car are like the most worried about their investments.
Yeah,
it's like, if it's not affecting you, little bro, it's not.
It's like
you won't be affected. You're not that guy. You don't have $100 million.
That's for the big dogs. It's for
the big players at the table, not for you.
Yeah, you're getting the scraps.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny that that's sort of like something that's on the back of a lot of people's mind is like, yeah, what's not? It might not affect me right now because I'm not making $100 million, but like in 10 years, I might be making $100 million, and it's like,
brother.
You're probably not, like statistically speaking, you're probably not going to be making $100 million. I mean, it's just no matter, like it's really hard to get to that point. You're probably not going to be making that, so try to help yourself out now. And if you don't want to help yourself out now, at least help the people around you. That's what being empathetic actually means.
Yes.